Another WNBA season is upon us, and for the first time ever, the New York Liberty enter as the defending champs.
Gotta get up, gotta get up,
gotta get up. Hey, women's basketball fans, welcome to Gotta Get Up, a podcast for New York Liberty fans, brought to you by Black Rosie Media and hosted by Erica L. Ayala. Hey, what it do? Welcome to another season, another episode of Gotta Get Up, a podcast for New York Liberty fans. Erica L. Ayala here alongside Brian Fleurantin, the man coming from BK himself. What it do?
So it's funny. I was just having a little bit of dinner before we came on, and literally like 2 minutes before we hopped on, I bit into a really hot pepper, which works because there's a lot of heat in New York and a lot of heat to discuss. So I'm like, my burning sensation and the burning feeling in my mouth right now fits because there's a lot of hot stuff to get to today.
That's it. I mean, listen, Tosh Cloud, she put it all out there, and I personally am here for it. We also got to hear from Stewie, talked a little bit about the mentality of the team coming into this season. Also, opened up a little bit about that injury that we knew was an injury. If you listen to Gotta Get Up, I told y'all she wasn't right. Just like I told y'all about Sab. So, we got a little bit of insight there. And the big question, Brian, that we're really trying to tackle for today's episode is this a New York Liberty team that can run it back? And I think there are a lot of different factors that go into that. And so we're going to talk about the New York Liberty. Of course, this is a New York Liberty podcast, and we get to make it all about the about the Liberty. So we're going to do that. But we're also going to talk about the field, because there's a new team. There's some players in new places. And I think it's a little bit of a wild, wild west, especially knowing that there will be a new collective bargaining agreement by the time, let's just put it this way, by the time the teams hit the court after this year, whether that is next year or beyond. Either way, there's going to be a new CBA. We know that for sure. So, let's start with just sights and sounds from the first training camp session, official training camp session, because there were players that we saw on social media working out prior to. But Brian, you were there in Brooklyn. Let us know what was going on.
Yeah, so I went to practice yesterday and today, the first day and the second day. So far, it looks like everything is flowing well. Something that I found interesting was after day one, in the post-practice huddle, some of the players are talking about a bit of over-communication. And I think that's natural. It's the first time you're playing with some new people, first time you've been together in some time. So you're going to be over-helping. You're going to be sort of like talking a little bit too much and not really relying on instinct like that. But in day two today, you really started to see things come together a little bit more. There's more timing on certain defensive rotations. There's more sort of like synchronicity and coordination. So it feels like gradually, as they're getting that work in together, things are going to flow more easily. And I would say my early highlight of camp so far is Rebecca Gardner. Beck looks great. Like, we had a chance to talk with her today. I'll post it in the Black Rosie Slack channel for everyone a little bit later. But Rebecca was excellent. Like, her on-ball defense was great. Like, her ability to help was really fantastic. She has some really good steals. Like, she's really been that vocal sort of like leader on the court when she's out there. The coaching staff is mixing her with with some of the starters. She was with Tosh Cloud, Sab, and JJ, running lineups with them. She looks really promising. And I think for Beck in particular, I feel like her role is going to be really critical this year because Benijah is out for most of the year. Leo is still has some overseas obligations, and I believe she might have some overseas stuff to take care of in June as well. So her full status availability is going to be up in the air. We'll keep an eye on that. But I think for having Beck, she's going to be so critical to what the team does. And when she was talking with us today, she really mentioned that being around the team last year really helped her a lot in all aspects. And the team also did a really fantastic job of making her feel welcome and included, because when players are out for like a whole season, usually they're sight unseen. We
Right.
don't see them; they're nowhere to be found. But Beck was with the team. She was there with the coaching staff. She was there at the parade, there being included in all of the team activities and celebrations. And I feel like a thing like that, it doesn't show up on like that sheet or like a box score, and it's not something that you can sort of measure per se, but
Right.
just creating that space and that welcoming environment for a veteran who's been around the game and is really dealing with really the most, I would say, the most traumatic injury a basketball player can get, which is a torn Achilles. Having that space and making that space for her is so valuable, and I feel like that's really going to pay off for the team in a myriad of ways this season.
Yeah, I love it. And let's take a look at this training camp roster. We're putting it on the screen for y'all right now. You mentioned some players that, we're expecting to see in that starting five. We'll start with Tosh Cloud, of course, Leo when she comes eventually, Sabrina Ionescu, Jonquil Jones, and Stewie, of course. But some familiar names. Now we've got Jalen Sherrod. This one, Odom. I love that.
Yeah.
Martinez. And listen, I don't have the clip. That's on me. I forgot to pull the clips for today. But Esmeti, I spoke to her at Media Day last year, and I spoke to a few different players that speak multiple languages and asked them to talk basketball in different languages. And one of the things that Esmeti in that clip, you can find it on Black Rosie Media IG. One of the things in that clip that Esmeti called at training camp on Media Day was that the New York Liberty would bring home the title, the championship. So I'm just putting that out there. We got a prophet in our ranks here. Another Taurus. Let's go. May Taurus season is right around the corner. Esmeti's birthday coming up here. I love that. Maureen Johannes back in the mix. I love that. Isabella Harrison, we've talked about on some other podcasts. Q Davis coming back. We've got two Davises, Caitlin Davis as well. And, Kennedy Burke back, and then Tosh Cloud, big time. So we've talked about it before, Brian, but this is going to be a competitive training camp for sure.
Yeah, I feel like coming in, a lot of people on the outside may feel like, oh, the roster is going to shake out this way. It probably might, but you never know how things play out. Some players really sort of like shock you and really have big training camps, and that sort of leads into other things for the future. Like Jalen Sherrod was the last. That's a great comment. I agree. Jalen Sherrod last year, for example, she was the very last cut in training camp, and even though she didn't make it coming out for opening night, she was still in the team sort of orbit. And then around like June is when she came in. She signed the 7 days. And then by August, she was on the rest of season contract. And then you really sort of got to see her come in. And something that I really liked today and yesterday as well, too, is that Tosh Cloud was really sort of like coaching her up to a great degree. And Jalen was really able to sort of like soak up a lot of game and information from Tosh Cloud. And I feel like having a veteran like that, especially one who's super vocal, like she makes her presence felt, even when she's not like in the immediate orbit, like you're gonna feel her every time. And I feel like for a young player like Jalen, having a vet like Tosh to sort of like learn from and sort of like emulate and mimic as far as like style of play, sort of like how she times things on defense, things like that. I feel like that's going to be super valuable for her and is really going to help her out as she progresses in her career.
Yeah, for sure. First, we've got some folks in the chat that are saying hello. Albert Jimenez from Queens, let's go. I'm a Mets fan, so I'm here for it. And then we've got Maddox saying hi. Ghosts just acting crazy again. The Stephen A. Smith, the most traumatic injury a basketball player can get is a 2-minute monologue from Stephen A. Smith. We have some questions here that we'll get to. Brian's lighting. and audio. We've got some things. I know we've talked about audio as well. So yeah, I think this is a really exciting roster. It's going to be competitive. I love what you're saying about Tosh already with that veteran presence. One of the videos that you posted for the local W from training camp was with Tosh, and she gave a lot of nuggets, Brian, in that short conversation. And I love it because I mean, Tosh is just such an open book, right? For the most part. And I think that kind of honesty, but also the care and already seeing that she's pouring into young players, I think is huge. She opened up about, if we remember, there was she was a player that received interest from the New York Liberty.
Yep.
She talked about it.
Yep.
And on social, see, this is why you got to watch people on social media, because in the moment when it happened, of course, Washington then countered the offer. And, Tosh, I don't remember exactly what she posted, but she was on some, I was never leaving, baka, 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 baka. But that's not exactly how the story really went down, Brian. What little nuggets did she give about that time after that 2019 championship?
Yeah, so she mentioned that the Liberty had made the contract offer, and she really gave it a lot of thought. And the Mystics, to their credit, like Mike Tebow, he ain't no fool. He matched it almost immediately. So she was able to they were able to maintain Tasha's presence in DC over the next couple of seasons.
Yep.
And as Tosh was talking, she really made a great point, and Isabel Harrison made a similar point today. And that the Liberty organization, for players who are outside of the organization, really stood out as far as how they treated their roster, how they made the push to lead to greater investment in the league, how they really sort of made their team a priority. And I think, that really does play a role. And, we've talked so much about the league leveling up and leveling up and leveling up, but it really starts from the people who are doing things immediately. It only takes one person to set the ball rolling, and the Liberty organization, to their credit, have really made that a big part of their goal and mission. They don't want to have a situation where they're falling behind in that regard. And especially in 1920, when they were really in the doldrums as far as where the organization was, it was huge, sort of at least, hey, we're not gonna be able to compete for a championship right now, but we can really lay the infrastructure down to get things right. So that way, when we are ready to compete and be ready for the very best to come here, they can just come in and just focus on basketball. They don't have a situation like Izzy was saying, on previous teams, where it's I got to worry about all these other things that are not basketball. Right. That part is so critical and so crucial. And I feel as we get to the CBA that you talked about earlier, that's going to be a big thing, because players have to do so much heavy lifting for the league as far as keeping interest up, playing well in the court, expanding the outreach across the world, things like that. If you as a player can just be I can go to work, I can just focus on my job, and I know that I'll have the medical support that I need. I'll have training staff. I'll have a situation where I have a full space to rest and recover properly and not have to worry about 20 other different things coming at me with such a ferocity. Right. I feel that's going to make their game even better and make for even more fun product for us to watch as well, too.
Absolutely. Excuse me. And, I think another thing that we heard from Tosh, and that we hear from players that end up, coming to the New York Liberty after having careers with other teams, team or teams in the league, is that Jonathan Kolb in particular, and this is not something historically I don't think that the New York Liberty have been able to do. I've said it before. I've written about it. I don't think that the New York Liberty were particularly great at free agency, in their history. The Tina Charles move was pretty big. It was huge, actually. Also, in that we got TC for AT, which I don't think it's fair to compare. What I will say is I wouldn't be mad at seeing an alternate universe and timeline where Alyssa Thomas does come to the New York Liberty. I'll just put it that way. But Tosh said this, and we've heard this from people before, that, you know, she, after the offer sheet came through from Washington, you know, even again before she went to Phoenix, because you mentioned that, you know, Mike Tebow ain't no fool, but they did let Tosh go at some point, which I thought was shocking, truly. And you know, Tosh goes to Phoenix, but it sounded like New York was in her mindset, but she wanted to challenge herself. What I took away from what she was saying, Brian, is that she wanted to challenge herself to step away from a comfort zone. And for her, that was the East Coast, quite frankly.
Yeah, and you know, especially for a player, once you've accomplished winning the championship, once you've been all defense, and once you've been a sort of like playoff hero in a lot of regards, you want to see, okay, what's the new horizon that I can sort of like reach?
Right.
What's the new mountain to climb? And I feel like for Tosh in particular, I think Phoenix last year represented that, because brand new ownership, brand new everything there, brand new desire to really put themselves back in championship contention after they fell short in 21, and then Sandy leaves, BG has the situation in Russia, Skylar, the relationship breaks down. Like 24 really was a chance for the Mercury to sort of establish themselves as a preeminent team in the league again.
Yep.
And they fell short of that on the court. Off the court, as far as like what they're investing in the practice facility, all those kind of things, they've done well with that. But the on the court piece is where they fell short. And I think and sort of like watching Phoenix from afar, it felt like there was always like something missing with them, where it's too like chaotic, if you will, on the court. It's like why y'all why are you guys acting like that? What is this? Like be cool, please, and stuff like that. So I feel like for Tosh being in New York, and she mentioned it as well too, that she could just like come in and hoop. Like she ain't gotta worry about nothing else. Like just come in, I do my thing. Like you're gonna feel me out there on the court. And you know, yeah, she mentioned especially competing against Breanna, where she's like, oh, I was like an a-hole to her, but it's like, hey, I know that I gotta be like that because you're really great, and I really gotta sort of push to really get to that level. And now that you have a play like that on your side, it makes things so much better. And she was really deliberate about saying that she's really going to try to feed the franchise superstars as much as possible. Yeah. And I feel like for Tosh, like she can really sort of amplify all the great things about the Liberty, like taking Sabrina, for example. She's really great on the ball, but off the ball, she's fantastic. Like getting her more catch and shoot threes, like getting her those wide open shots off Tosh drives, which the Liberty don't drive. They didn't drive much in 22, 23, and 24, but having that new element opens up, hey, catch and shoots for Sabrina. She's there. Like Sab having to handle the ball less. That way you can score a little bit more. You don't have to distribute as much. You're great at it, but I want to have you scoring like 19 points a game if I can get it. Like things like that. Those subtle things add up over time and really helps you sort of like manage the workload of the whole team evenly. So that way it's not a situation like in 23 where it's, oh, Breanna, like you got to get 35 first night, big dog. Go do it. Yeah. Or in 24, it's, hey, our 3-point shot is here. Can we actually get the ball inside the JJ this time, please? Please, pretty please. Now it's okay. We know what to do. We have a player who gives us new avenues and new sort of like things to explore. Yep. Now we can really sort of like hit those buttons and really be even more potent with what we do.
And there's something in that you said that I think Tosh is uniquely qualified to do, because she's new to the New York Liberty, but she ain't new to the WNBA. Yeah. And even the fact that she's barked, so to speak, at some of these players while playing against them, I think gives her the credibility and the voice that's needed for this team. We talked about it so much, Brian. This is a New York Liberty team that is by committee, and that is a beautiful thing. And it's sometimes frustrating because you mentioned it, you alluded to it, getting the ball to Jonquel Jones in the paint. You have to get that. You have to get the ball to her in the paint, in the paint, in the paint and early in the offense. Now, does that mean she takes the first shot? Maybe not, but you have to get her touches. And there were difficulties doing that. You talked about Stewie being overworked because listen, I don't care what nobody says. Because remember, Brian, when we was on here 2 seasons ago, your girl was like, listen, I'm not saying it's a problem now, but I'm saying it might be a problem later. And people were like, oh, well, you know, she's on the right side of 30. Baka, baka. Like, I didn't know what I was talking about. Sister girl just had to have a scope. Que no. Okay. They were working her, dogging her, you know, but with Tosh, she has the experience. She has the hardware, like you said, and she has the confidence to get that team together, to talk. This is a Liberty team that, you know, you talked about maybe over communicating. To me, I love that this team is over communicating because it was something Courtney Vandersloot actually said coming into last year that a bunch of the players said it, but Courtney Vandersloot was one of them. I think Sab was one of them. JJ saying that, you know, in that year that they lost to Vegas, what was one of the things that they noticed was that there were things that would go unsaid. And that didn't happen as much last year. But it's not just about things that go unsaid, that get festered, problems that don't get fixed, and so they just keep going. It's also in real time on the court. I mean, how many times do we see Leo get laid out, right? You need to communicate that. Now, JJ, in fairness, at least on some of them, was communicating. But you need a voice that can just penetrate through all of the noise. And that's what you're going to get when you got a point guard from Philly. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about that. I do see we have some questions in the chat. We're going to get to some of them as we go, but we'll get to all of them in the fourth quarter. I just want to get through some things here. We've been talking a lot about Tosh. I want to go back to Stewie just for a moment because she opened up about her procedure and why she waited until after Unrivaled, Brian. I thought her answer was not, I don't want to say surprising, but maybe interesting, especially because, so for those who don't know, she had a small procedure as soon as her team, the Mist BC, was officially eliminated from playoff contention in the first ever season of Unrivaled. If you listen to the Gotta Get Up podcast, then you know, I'm telling you, after game 5, she was talking to Sue Bird, and Sue Bird looked like she said, did it pop? Stewie got hurt in the finals. And in game 5, it's most likely. But it didn't seem like it was anything serious. The procedure was, you know, it wasn't serious, but she waited. She waited until Unrivaled was done because she wanted to see if her team was going to make the playoffs. And if her team had made the playoffs, Brian, what she said is that she would have gotten her procedure done 2 weeks later. Now, on the one hand, I don't know, because it looked like she was agitated during Unrivaled to me. I mean, Stewie, if this is what fascinates me about Stewie, because when Stewie plays hurt, it looks like just like a regular basketball player or athlete in a slump. That's how automatic her everything is. And she played hurt, I think, even before game 5. Definitely agitated. She agitated something. You know, we talked about the 3-pointer not falling early, but the way that she countered that was not to play less minutes, although she did right before the Olympics, but was to buckle down defensively, which is wild because there are not many athletes that when they're not feeling 100%, they're going to give 110% on defense. But that's who Stewie is. I just want to take a minute, you know, Ghost over here talk about, you know, I can't wait to see what she plays like at 76. Like y'all are crazy for that. But I mean, just like the dog that exists, the husky, if you will, that exists in Stewie, but now having a counterbalance of a Natasha Cloud who's very much vocal, heart on your sleeve kind of player, I don't know. This New York Liberty team about to be whipped up real quick.
Yeah, like something I'm really interested to sort of like see develop, and I'll try to ask Sandy about it sometime over the next couple of weeks if I can. It's just like how they can really sort of like tap
Listen.
into so many
So
other
crazy.
different buttons with Cloud, because Natasha, she can guard up 1 through 4, and Breanna Stewart, like we saw it a lot in the Aces series. She is such a tremendous help defender, like probably like the best I've ever seen. Like her timing is really good, like her length is outstanding. Like she really blows things up in such a unique and destructive way.
Yep.
And I feel like having a defender like a Tosh Cloud who can take some of those on-ball responsibilities, because we think back to the Aces series, like Stewie had some possessions guarding Jackie Young and doing it well. Now it's okay. Tosh Cloud can guard Jackie Young, or she can guard now Jewel Lloyd. Oh, Kia Stokes is out there. Hey, Stewie, you got her. Go roam, go blow stuff up. You got it. Like that really opens up so many, even more avenues for the Liberty. And I think that once we see the full component of the team, I'd say give it about like a month, just in case, because Leo's coming in, like things like that. Like once the team is like at their final form, I think we're really going to be able to see just the sort of like versatility and just like ways they could just throw so many different combinations at you on defense. And I think that I would say a goal for the team is like at least finishing like top 3 in defense. I think that's a reasonable goal for this group, and I think it's one that they're going to be aiming for as well too, I would say.
Yeah, I love that. I love that for sure. Defensively, this is a team that you want to see be able to really get after it. Absolutely. So I love what you're saying there. Let's go back. Let's go back to let me pull it up here. But talking about this this training camp roster, because we had some questions regarding the roster, who's going to make this roster, etc. When you look at the pieces here, and again, going to be a hard roster to make. What are the pairings or what are the cluster of players that you think gives New York the most dynamic kind of reserve core?
Okay. So putting together like a bench lineup, if you will, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see. I would say I'd want MJ out there because I feel like for this group, they're going to need scoring. And Johannes is someone that can get her own shot pretty much anywhere on the court. And she's really able to sort of like exploit and find different angles to get things for her teammates. So MJ is going to be my guard. My other guard, I might slot Beck Gardner at the 2 just for that defense. I feel like she's really fantastic and she'll really give a lot on that end. Okay. So that's that. Niara in the middle, I think her ability to, so I think we talked about it during the finals and after, but just like the way she rolls to the basket just creates so much. And the way she gets downhill really sort of like draws so much attention. And she has surprisingly good touch at the rim. I think sometimes that doesn't get sort of like mentioned enough when talking about her, but she has
it showed up in game 5.
Yeah. Like
her touch, her finesse, and her poise.
Absolutely. Like
you can't overstate how important Niara Sabally was in game 5.
She was critical. And my fourth off the bench would be KB. I think for Kennedy, okay, I'll get to that question. I'll come back to that. Yeah. My fourth bench player would be Kennedy. I think KB is going to slide into that KT role where it's, okay, we need you to just like, hey, they're not calling anything tonight. We being physical. Hey, get there.
Yep.
Muscle up, and I think also for Kennedy, she's a really good ball handler. I think sometimes that because she didn't have to do it much last year, we didn't really get to see it that often, but she can, she's a good passer in the high post. Like she's a good driver to the rim. That's something that Sandy talked about that they haven't done well of in recent years. So that's another option for them to go with. And I think that's going to help a lot. And my fifth right now, I think because I love size on my team, like if I have like rangy athletic players in my front court, I'm really satisfied with it. So I think my fifth out of this unit would be Izzy. I think Izzy, especially, like she's a really good rebounder. She's working to be a better 3-point shooter. I have to double check her percentages, but it wasn't that great when she was on the Sky, if memory serves correctly.
Yeah.
But she'll get way better looks here than she did in Chicago, and that context matters a lot. So I think being on a Liberty team that has way more room to operate with and so much players that draw attention, the looks will be easier almost by default. And she's not going to be on a team where it's cramped in the front court. There's like coaching instability, things like that. Like here, it's okay. We know what's happening. We know who run it.
Yes.
Good to go. Yeah. So I think Izzy would be my fifth out of my second unit, but that part I'm sort of like flexible with, and that depends on who's available, who's going to be out, things like that. So I would say those like my early five off the second unit.
Okay. 3-point percentage is kind of teetering around 18, 19%. So yeah, not a huge part of the repertoire. So then the question from Albert Jimenez: is it conceivable for Izzy Harrison and Ezzy Martinez to join the roster together? If not, who has the upper hand?
I would say 2 days in, and I'm basing this off of the sort of like 60 minutes we had available, like 30 minutes one day, 30 minutes the other day, as far as like the open media part of practice.
Yeah.
So I don't have the full, starts at 10 a.m. I'm locked in watching everything like that. I think I would say Izzy might have the advantage.
I think so.
I think having a vet who's been in the league for a long time, and I think having a vet who does provide that rim protection, who's a very good rebounder at her size and in her position. I think that part's going to help a lot for the Liberty, because I think for New York they have such a great perimeter defense, and I think the big part about defense especially is that you can have the great on ball stuff. You can do all these things well, but ultimately you have to complete the possession, and that means getting the rebound if it's available. And I think Izzy helps a lot with that. Like New York was great last year. I think second best to only Izzy, the team Izzy was on, the Chicago Sky, and rebounding. So if you're able to really sort of like lock up on the perimeter, and then you're forcing difficult shots, and you're able to sort of like secure those possessions and get out on the run the other way, I think that part matters a great deal. And I feel like for Izzy, she'd be able to really sort of like take those minutes. And we talked. I mentioned it briefly in the context of Leo possibly not being around in June. The same might be true for Niara, because I believe Germany has Eurobasket stuff in June, so she may not be available for a good portion of that time. So a backup big who has played starters minutes in Izzy, I think becomes even more valuable. And especially in the record high 44 games this season. The season isn't technically longer. I think it's the same amount of time from like bell to bell, but it's just like 4 more games squeezed in. So now it's going to be a situation where you may need a player like Izzy for like 28 minutes, where you sort of like give JJ a little bit, like ease up the throttle a little bit, or even give her a day off here and there. Having a player who has started in Izzy, and a player who has started in what was essentially a race for the playoffs last year, like with the Sky down the stretch. I think that part, I think that's going to be helpful for the team, and I think that would give her the early advantage over a young player like Esmari, who did a good job last year in training camp, and then she was able to sort of like parlay that into playing for Dominican Republic and in French leagues as well. I think that Esmari is going to make a good impression, but I would say my early advantage leans towards Izzy for now.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think Izzy is like, she has the capacity to give you like a De'Erica Hamby light, in that solid, strong player off of the bench can give you solid and hard minutes. And you mentioned Kayla Thornton and kind of KB taking that on. I mean, that's who took on, other than I would say Breanna Stewart and Jonquel Jones to an extent, and in different ways, but um, Kayla Thornton, Benajelani Hamilton, those are players that play the hard minutes, right, for this Liberty squad. And then when we got to the playoffs, I think Leo took on some of those hard minutes.
Yeah.
I think Izzy can give you those hard minutes and has the experience, so knows the scout on the players, can, integrate more seamlessly. I love that Martinez is back, because I did like what we saw, a very small sample size, but I liked what we saw. And again, I feel like we're going to keep saying this, but the New York Liberty are in such a unique position because we know that they're winning a championship at a time where it's not just one expansion team, there are multiple expansion teams coming. This is not, it's unprecedented in the way that we're seeing this stagger. And so there are just players that the New York Liberty are not going to be able to keep for a myriad of reasons. And so can Martinez be one of those players that, not a draft and stash, or not that you necessarily stash her, but someone that you kind of keep in the wings to see if you have an injury or you have to make a trade or something happens with, and then you have this player that is coming into training camp, knows the team, knows the system, and, can get, what's their rookie year started, without a hitch. I think that's really interesting to me. And I'm curious to see her skill set again, because it's been a little bit since I personally have seen it. Yeah, like a chip to play, but not in any exchange with, externally, more so that it's a player that you want to have available, um for a lot of the things that I mentioned, just someone that you have that's been through your training camp, has been around your players who you can call on. And I think that's really critical. I think there was a comment that I wanted to get back to, and I can't find it. But yeah, so that's my take there. Oh, Sherrod. So Sherrod is on a training camp contract, so that doesn't bring any guarantees. It's to show up for training camp, and so that's actually what Izzy is on as well. The way it's put down. We're gonna come to our good friends at Her Hoop Stats here in a second. I'll put that up on the screen, but I thought that was really interesting as well, because I don't think Izzy is as much of an experiment as some of the other players that are on training camp rosters. So I don't know. What's your take on why Harrison comes in with a training camp contract?
I want to say I have to look at the breakdown of it on Her Hoops when we pull it up. I believe that it's probably a situation where you only have so many like guaranteed spots that are set up, and then with the Liberty sort of like bumping up at the edge of the cap again, it's a situation where the training camp number may have enough room to work with when it comes to managing a roster spot. And then from there, I think once the money guarantees, that's when it officially goes on the books, and you sort of like move from there. So I would say, and I guess we'll sort of see what it looks like when the CBA goes into effect next year, if the players want to work to navigate that sort of like those contract designations and sort of like ensuring greater roster space, things like that. So I wonder, for a lot of these players here and across the league who are on training camp contracts, what will it look like when the pool increases as far as like money and roster spots go, and if there can be more guaranteed positions for players coming into camp. So it's going to be a sort of like a lot to think about on that end.
Yeah, because I mean, per Her Hoop Stats, you have Kennedy Burke, Izzy Harrison, Anika Soltau.
I believe so.
Okay. Kaylin Davis, Rebecca Gardner, Maureen Johannes, Esmeti, Martinez and Jalen Sherrod on training camp contracts. Now, again, I don't think that all of these players are in danger of not making the roster. But to your point about the salary cap, I think it's more so just kind of playing the numbers, and just figuring out what you have, getting everyone in the room, so to speak, in the gym, and then figuring it out from there. Do you get an early injury, something like that? Like, that's kind of my take on it. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. Yeah, this part right here, this time of year is both thrilling, seeing a new squad come together, and brutal, having to let some good women go. And that's absolutely the truth. Yeah. What about Q Davis? Not on a training camp contract.
I believe it is unprotected per
so.
the listing.
I think so. Hold on, because I can't read that. Unprotected, yeah. So unprotected is Sabali, Davis, Phoebish. Those are and Sab. Woof. Woof. All right. Now, come on, JK, work your magic. Yeah, I think it's definitely different. It's definitely interesting. Yeah. Oh, so so following up with Davis, is she a possibility to get some gameplay? I'm gonna be honest, I don't think so. I'm not confident that Sherrod, Davis are players that we're going to see utilized, even if they are carried on this roster. Now, I do think that's a little bit unfortunate. That being said, when you have a player and an energy like Tosh Cloud, even if they don't get the play, and again, how do I want to say this? Because there's like a few things. I'm of a few minds here, Brian, because I am one of the believers that the WNBA needs to move to an expanded roster. That being said, as of right now, the habits that have been built over decades of this league are that teams, like when we talk about, this team is deep, or this coach uses the depth of their roster, we're really only talking about 3 players deep.
Yeah. Coaches tend to. Coaches like, I'll keep my rotation at 8, 9 if I absolutely have to. Anything beyond that, it's like pulling teeth out of them.
Exactly.
So it's really hard for like players on the deep part of the bench to really get those moments and those real extended opportunities to get playing time. So it makes it really challenging for players to really sort of get that rhythm over the course of the season.
Exactly. Yeah. And so there's a little bit of a give and take there. That's why the practice reps are important. And that's hard. That's hard to do, to just, know what you can do in practice and not ever get a chance to really put it out there. Yeah. Okay. So the question to what I just said, would you rather have an expanded roster over expansion teams? To that I say, ¿por qué no los dos? ¿Por qué no los dos? No, I'm not saying I'm not choosing. I want both. Moni definitely wants an expanded roster. I mean, if I had to, if I'm forced to prioritize, do I think we need another cluster of expansion teams? I mean, if you listen to this podcast for the last 3 months, I'm shooketh. Regarding the expansion drafts and this New York Liberty squad. So yeah, I'll take the expanded roster over the expansion teams. But generally speaking, I'm not choosing. I don't think it's a one or the other. I think it's a both and. Moni said, I'm choosing. I want the talent in the W not to get watered down. I mean, I think that's an interesting argument. And it goes back to what I was saying, right? That rosters, deep teams and coaches that are willing to use their depth, they're talking 3 players deep.
Yeah.
They're not talking about the next 5, the next 7. That's not a thing that
Yeah.
happens.
I think just to sort of stay on the last part of Moni's point, I hear that a lot when it comes to expansion, but I feel like, and Erica, I feel like you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but
Mm.
the league really over the course of its history hasn't really tapped into the international market like that.
Abso-freaking-lutely not. I
Yeah.
mean, Leo is considered a diamond in the rough.
Yeah. And you know,
MJ too.
yeah, like a player like Leo, she was drafted in 2020 and her teams never even bothered to give her a phone call. And you look at what the Sky were in 2022, like they could have used a player like her, especially in that game 5 against the Sun. Like we saw them melt in that point. So I think for us as a league, with that greater expansion, I think comes a greater requirement for teams to like be serious about looking for talent all over the world. Because if you don't, hey, your players are gonna be able like are gonna populate the teams that really treat them well and really have a foothold in certain aspects, like the Liberty. How many players of theirs have played in France? Like they have that connection. Even that's it.
I was already as soon as Brian gets that thought, you already know.
That's a good ass point. And next year when it comes to FIBA in 2026, like I remember in 2022, there was a lot of controversy that they had teams playing back to back to back days and really sort of like making it impossible to get that rest. And Marine, she yep, that's another man.
That was
Every comment tonight has been fantastic and like right where my brain wants to jump next.
Exactly.
I feel like everyone's tapped in with me. So I think that as we sort of like advance and move on, the league is going to have to figure out, especially with a place like France, like, okay, how do we fit your schedule so our schedule is not as taxing? And they haven't said it out loud, but if I were in their position, I'm just say like this: like prioritization got to go. Like no, like nope, that gotta go. Like
I mean, I listen, Linda, listen. I think it's difficult because on the one hand, I see where the W is trying to go, but let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it funky, okay? Prioritization was not intended to, let me put it this way. I am of the strong belief that prioritization came about because Diana Taurasi sat out a whole ass WNBA season because she was getting paid to do so. That's the catalyst for WNBA prioritization. I do think players getting injured, players coming late to camp had something to do with it. But again, let's keep it funky. Prioritization is intended for, I strongly believe, domestic players, aka players born in the United States who are stars in the WNBA. Without any argument, stars of the WNBA, to protect them. Mm-hmm. Because remember, were you on that podcast with us when we were talking about that whole Stewie situation of it all? You talked about Achilles, and remember when that thing ruptured, and all of a sudden the WNBA had this, ambassador program that never existed again.
Yeah.
You feel me?
I think that was 2 episodes back, I believe.
I think so too. Yep.
It might have been on the Natasha talk we talked about it, but I know it was very recently.
Yep, exactly. And so again, these are the things. Diana Taurasi sitting out, Breanna Stewart missing time because of her Achilles, and then the league being like, because the Seattle Storm should have been forced to figure out if they were going to retain Stewie on the roster and then retain her salary or suspend her rookie contract. If I'm not mistaken, she was still on a rookie contract, right? Mm-hmm. suspend her salary and then have a star like Stewie making no money with the league and having no obligation or responsibility. And so at the time, especially the way the salaries were constructed, exactly how is Stewie supposed to be making money? So I understand why they did it. It was definitely one of those Kathy Engelbert, I did it because I could type things. And that's why they were like, well, we can't have this. Let's focus on prioritization. That I will go into the earth on that. I will stand on that. And what happens, the effect, the impact of prioritization is that now you have in 2020, Sabrina Ionescu comes in, right? The I hate using this term, but it's also kind of apropos. The first wave or the most modern wave of the Great White Hope before there was the Caitlin Clark effect, right? And then who was number 2 in that draft?
From the University of Oregon, Satu Savale.
And so now you have a situation where, and who went number 2 this year? The W has always been an international league. They just didn't mess with international players. There have been times where international players haven't had, and this is a great, we're going to have to take this over to Tempestagi talk because I know Horetta will go off on this topic. But there have been times where players have not had access to translators. And, you know, Hanju, perfect example. It's not that she cannot speak English. And I think she got, for people who've covered the Liberty, we saw her get more comfortable speaking to us in English. But the whole point is like, listen, if I got to curse you out or order food in Spanish, I'm going to get it done. Okay? Everything else is going to take a minute. And I'm going to need somebody to help translate. You feel me? That's just how, when you're not speaking a language that you are practicing often, that is your native language, that you are immersed in, that's kind of how it works for the human mind, right? And so we've seen things like that. I mean, Emma Miesemann I was at the Olympics, talked to Emma Miesemann about all of this. So again, I can go on a rant on some other podcast. When we think about prioritization, the pushback, and now the WNBA has to figure out where they stand on this, because to your point, now we want to fill rosters because we have expansion. You've got, again, international players going second overall. You've got people more tapped into what's happening in EuroLeague, Eurobasket, the Olympics than they ever were before. Did they switch it from World Championships to World Cup, or is it the other way? I can't ever remember, because then I think about football / soccer.
I want to say, I think it's Cup.
I think it's Cup now, right? I think they switched it to Cup. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The international tournament, that's just a rung under the Olympics, whatever that is, because they changed the name, and now I'm all jacked up because I'm like, are we talking soccer or are we talking basketball? Whatever. The point is, there's so many more eyes. And just as an aside, because I talked about the Caitlin Clark effect, do you know who's never played on the senior national team?
Yeah.
I'm just putting it out there. So now you've got people who are locked into the international game, and arguably, you know, the Great White Hopes, the new wave, the Caitlin Clark effect of it all hasn't even hit the international market yet, and people are already just want to sop it up. The WNBA has to figure out if they're about it, which is so wild, because we know this, Brian. People forget, but you and I know the WNBA is a product, right, of the NBA enterprise.
Yep. They are still a subsidiary of NBA Entertainment.
You know what I'm saying? It's like Dr. Pepper is a part of the Pepsi family. They're not separate companies. They're the same. PepsiCo and Purchase, New York. You know what I'm saying? We go to the PepsiCo Gardens every year for school. I do that anyway. The point is that, and so you have the big boss, right? The big entity is going over the top to expand the global product to the point where you have players from India, Greece, of course, France, I mean, China, I mean, Japan, like I can go on and on and on and on. Germany, all of these teams that they're coming to the NCAA. Why? Because the NBA is having women's basketball clinics all throughout their global expansion. They take Chennai on the road.
Yep.
Orike's been there, Satu's been there. And so here you go. Big Boss is trying to make all that global money, and your product for women's basketball isn't ready for it. I like in my head, I hear Michael Jackson, all I want to say is that they don't really care about us. That's what I keep hearing. That's what I keep hearing. And to a fault. So if they don't flip that thing, if they don't flip that prioritization, they're going to be in a bad way. Kathy going to find herself without a job.
Yeah. And, to the NCAA point, we talk a lot. I think I might have linked to it. I think I might have linked to a story about it in the newsletter a while back. But for international basketball players.
Hilarious. Yo, bro. I'm gonna consider that. Thank you for this job advice. We did have a interesting conversation. Anyway, that's for another day. But
yeah. I think a few weeks, like it may be like the most recent edition of the newsletter. I linked to a story. I think I linked to a story I read about for international athletes who play in the NCAA, the NIL isn't really available to them. So
Camila has talked about that.
Yeah.
Because they can't make money because they're on a student visa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you want international players who enter the NCAA to come into the league, you got to make it so that way they have enough to sort of stay, so they can really make the most of their time in the United States. So that way, another international league, like you don't want like Fenner to be like, oh hey, they're not doing right by you. Come here with us. We'll make it worth your while. Like that level of competition is not just within the teams within the league, but within teams around the world. And leagues in Turkey, leagues in France, leagues in China, leagues in Mexico. So many places are open for business and really want to sort of tap in. And as a league, you've got to be able to do what you can to keep the very best of the best within the family. Like you don't want them to sort of like the Leah Edwards of Canada, another great example right there.
Canada, they're like on the cusp because now the W is expanding into Toronto, and they've always been like I don't ever think that the W ever really considered Canadians international, although Canadians very much had to deal with being international players. But yeah, that's a little bit, I think it's more of a cultural thing. But yeah, Aaliyah Edwards, I mean, Bridget Carlton had a great year last year, right, for Minnesota.
Yeah.
And those two are going to take the reins now that Natalie Achanwa has retired from the national team. And was she with Michigan this year? As a bench boss, an assistant? Was it Michigan?
Sure.
I can't remember. Something like that. I think it was Michigan. Or no, yeah. Either way. Neither here nor there. I did definitely star some questions. We have some questions about Bonajalani Hamilton. What can Cloud and Harrison bring? We talked about that a little bit, Damien, but we can definitely circle back to it. But there's... Oh, I see. All right, Moni. Yes, you're correct. Yes. In that way, Aaliyah Edwards, Kia Nurse didn't have that. There was no NIL, but yes.
Nika Mule.
Yes, Nika Mule, exactly. Croatia, so absolutely. Yeah, these are players. So, how that impacts how they move forward with their careers, all things that I think the W can and should consider. Okay. Let's keep it moving here. I also did love this comment. I always love when Ezra Edelman is mentioned because his mother is Marion Wright Edelman, for those who don't know. And I used to work for the Children's Defense Fund in my other life. And so I just think it's funny that he's so, deep into basketball culture. I've been seeing him courtside, but that's really funny. Anyway, okay. So Prioritization, yeah. Let's fix that. We got to figure it out. Ghost is on one. Yo, bruh. Conspiracy theory. Kathy sent super spy Kennedy Carter. No, down to Mexico. No. Oh my gosh. I'm so Ghost. Ghost. I'm weak. I'm so weak. Oh man, I love this. I love these comments. Okay. Oh, sorry. Hoberta put something in the Slack. We got to figure it out. She heard us talking prioritization. It was like, hold my beer. But okay, let's move on because I think there's some valid the big question, right? Can this team run it back? And I want to talk about first so we broke down the construct of this team. Let's go a little deeper. Can they? I haven't seen it yet. Yes, good. All right.
It's so fucking good. Oh my god.
Okay.
The music is listen to this, like it's so good. Like I've been listening to the score as I write. It's so great. Like,
I almost hit it today. I told you I was doing laptop karaoke before we podcasted. And I was like, ooh, sinners. And I was like, no, I want to sing more. But I almost popped that thing. So okay. Also, Albert, I don't think you understand. I know it I posted it in Slack for the Olympics. But when I tell you, I asked Emma Mieseman, I'm gonna get close here. I'm gonna get close so y'all know this is serious business. I interviewed Emma Mieseman, asked her about prioritization, which we were just talking about. And when I asked her, what would it take, or would she ever consider coming back to the W? I forget what my question was. It was something along those lines. And sis looked me dead in my eyes and was like, if you want me back, then you know what to do. And I was like, okay, first of all, the fact that I knew exactly what you meant, yes. But also, I ain't got nothing to do with nothing, sis. I just write things. But anytime someone mentions Emma Mieseman, I'm like, listen, get your girl Kathy, because Emma will come back. And if Emma comes to the New York Liberty, I will lose my mind. I will lose it. I will lose my whole ever-loving mind. Because Emma Mieseman, envy Mieseman, can't do it. Oop, look at this. Roberta. Skylar Diggins told everyone to go watch Sinners during the Storm Media Day today. I believe. Okay. All right. It's a wrap tap. I'll be in New York on Wednesday. I'm gonna watch it when I get to New York. I'm gonna watch it when I get to New York. We're gonna do that. Roberta, you missed it. I don't know if you heard, but we were talking about prioritization. We're gonna have to come back to this on Tempestagi Talk. We're gonna have to come back. Oh, see, look, see, bam! I knew it. No,
she got mad. It's not about hey.
What she got mad? Oh, okay. She's like, I done said what I said. Y'all stop asking me.
You don't worry about it.
She be all right. I want to know the story though, because we were definitely talking about prioritization. You just run this podcast back to Gabby and then be like, so can we talk about it now? No, clickbait. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I understand where she's coming from because she does get asked about it a lot. She's now the poster child for prioritization. You just caught her, she didn't get her smoothie after practice or something like that. I don't know. But I'm very curious because we're gonna have to come back to that. We're gonna have to play this podcast for Gabby and see what she has to say about what I had to say. Because I went on an epic rant over I don't know if you were in here yet, but we're gonna have to get back to that. Okay, let's get back to this New York Liberty squad. Okay, so I had some comments that I starred here that I think will help a little bit. So let's talk about, can the New York Liberty, I'm going to remix this, Albert, because I think this is a good way to keep going on track what we're trying to accomplish today. Can this New York Liberty squad, Brian, run it back, get all the way to the finals, and even win another championship if they don't get Benijah Lady Hamilton back? What are your thoughts?
I think they can. It'll be very difficult, but I think it's possible. And I think the top line talent is enough to get them through. I think Leo taking another step forward is going to be critical for this team. And I think at the same time, they I don't think they'll say it out loud, but I think if they're the 1 seed, they control the board in a way that they did last year. And that will really sort of like make the path a lot less arduous, I would say. So if they're able to really build that foundation and see some players take another step forward, I think they'll be able to offset B's absence. And then if she's able to give them anything come late August, mid September, then everything at that is just like, bonus points essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. Was she asked or did she give any updates on Lainey in the first 2 days of training camp?
Not that I heard. JJ mentioned that, they're going to try to really sort of like do it for B in a sense. And I think Sandy mentioned that. I think it might have been JJ who mentioned that not having B as a post option is going to be different for them as well too. So that's going to be a change up. Our friend Lucas Kaplan transcribed the JJ quote about B. I'll put it in a Slack channel for people. So that way we can sort of like have a record of it as well too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I've gone on the record saying that even before we knew Banaj was going to be out for an extended period of time, that the New York Liberty needed to give her some rest. Like, I straight up said that. I think it was the podcast before we knew that she was going to be out. And that's because they've relied on her a lot. She's had to advocate for an extended role or a different role so that she's not just, our, I don't even know what you want to call it, Swiss Army knife, everything on defense. She's really advocated for herself. And I think she's earned a little bit of just, let's not, force the issue. Let's give her some time. And so I think for me, if I was saying, okay, give Hamilton a little bit of rest, even before the injury, now she will have to recover. To me, it was not, to your point, not that they can't make a run. However, it's predicated on some other players leveling up.
Mm-hmm.
You don't replace Banaj Hamilton. Yeah. I mean, there's no one on this squad that gives you exactly what she gives, period. It's not a replacement. You don't replace her. I think it's a matter of giving Leo an expanded role. I think it's a matter of MJ has to get play. And we saw that before, she stayed with the national team last year, but I think her game has to level up. I think Leo has to give what we saw in the playoffs. You have to get the highest peaks of performance from MJ. We have to see that more consistently. You mentioned Kennedy Burke. I think that's another player. I think Tosh is a good player to bring because last time we had MJ, and even last year, the reason Leo started is because Courtney Vandersloot, the writing was on the wall that wasn't going to be a long-term fit.
Yeah. Now,
my instincts tell me that Tosh is a better option at the true one. And we talked about this at the top of the show. That's my gut. That's my instinct. She gives you more defense. She will be the first one to tell you that, like, don't get it twisted. She can score too. Just like Nika, so I can switch. Tosh Cloud is like, I can shoot. So I think that, we don't need her to be absolutely lights out. That's why you have MJ. That's why you have Sab. That's why you have JJ and Stewie. And, we're good there. Driving, we saw that Sab got to the rim a lot more. I was so proud. Love to see it. And that's what Tosh does. So she can open up, just punch the gut open of defenses. I'm excited for that. So all of those things, Banaj Hamilton can do. And now we have multiple players that can do, I don't know. I don't want to say it's better or worse. It's just that, again, Tosh can drive. Sab can shoot. Leo can play defense on multiple different positions. So you get a little bit of that. And so what that means is when you have a healthy Benijah Laney Hamilton, she can stay healthy because she doesn't have to get a freaking cortisone shot or whatever kind of shot. I don't know what kind of shot she got. I ain't a doctor. She got some kind of shot and the shot was good. Okay. So she got some kind of shot. She's not going to have to do that. You know, she's not going to have to be hobbling out there. And that longevity, having her play fewer hard minutes is only going to benefit her, obviously, and by extension, the New York Liberty roster. So those are my thoughts there. Can they win a title? Well, as it would turn out, I didn't get the graphic ready because I was too busy with my laptop karaoke. But Brian and I did categorize all now 13 WNBA teams, and the categories are contender. And I love that both of us also, let me say the first two categories, contender and make the playoffs. I love that instinctively we both selected 8 teams that were in one of those two categories. So because 8 teams, unless Kathy changes it, which she is want to do, 8 teams will make the playoffs. We're just gonna go with that, right? So we have 8 teams that are either contenders, which means we think that they could be in a WNBA finals this year. And no, it's not just 2 teams, but this is preseason, so these are predictions. So I think you can have up to 4 teams, right? That can be contenders. If you get to the semifinals, in my opinion, you're a contender. You know, ball bounces one way or the other. You know what I'm saying? So we have contenders, we have make the playoffs, and then we have the wait till next year's. Do the Liberty come, Damien? Do they make the? I'm gonna let the chat handle this. I'm gonna let the chat handle this. We'll save the New York Liberty until later. Damien. Come on now. Y'all in the chat. Do the Liberty make the playoffs? We're gonna save the New York Liberty for last. Who are our contenders? These are teams that are not only making the playoffs, Brian, but they are contenders for, at minimum, a semifinals appearance, but also, obviously, if they get to the semis, they have a chance at playing for a title. Let's go with your first contender. Well, both of us have the Las Vegas Aces. Mm-hmm. So you have the Las Vegas Aces as a contender, as do I. We know it was a little bit of an off year. If you listen to Tempestagi Talk, we talked about that a little bit. So not only did we categorize these teams, but we also, I have them in my head. I didn't type them all down, but we also have an impact player. Now, this is not necessarily an all-star, the go-to, the best player on the team. No. This is someone who this is someone who we think is going to have an impact year, can be an X factor. So assuming that the Las Vegas Aces are able to be a contender, so they get to at least the semis this year, Brian, who is the player or players that you think have to have an impact season for that to be true?
For the Aces, I was split between my second choice option for them was Elizabeth Kitley coming off the bench, because especially with Cheyenne Parker Tyus being out a few months as she manages her pregnancy, the Aces are going to need a backup big, and Meg Gustafson was a complete non-factor down the stretch. Kia Stokes has played off the court after one game in the semifinals, so Elizabeth will be key for them. But especially as she recovers from her ACL injury in 23, but matter of fact, 24, my bad. But the player I went with there is Jackie Young. I think their season is wholly dependent on Jackie being right and being healthy and playing like she did in 2023. You know, we talked about it during the semis last year. The Aces lost that series in part because the Liberty were able to put Sabrina on Jackie Young, and it didn't make a darn bit of difference. Like, you think back to 23 when the Aces were able to really sort of like exploit and punish every mismatch that they were able to get. those mismatches dried up last year in the semifinals. Jackie Young had one good game in that game 3 that they won by a bunch, but otherwise was completely not there. We, against the Aces' wishes, found out that Jackie Young was dealing with an injury that she had got in the Olympics and been playing with it for months. And we really didn't get to see her healthy again. I don't even think she had a great unrivaled season as well, too, if memory serves correctly. So I think for Las Vegas, Jackie is the sort of key to everything that they do, because Jackie is that ace perimeter defender. She's that other scoring option. She's someone, hey, you give her the ball, Jack, get her something. She could do that. And I think that especially in those big time matchups against a team like a Minnesota, when they see New York, when they and New York are at full power going up against each other again, she's going to be absolutely essential. And I think that if Jackie doesn't have that all-star caliber season, Las Vegas isn't going to make it back to the finals, and they're going to fall short yet again. But if she does play to that level, Vegas can go really far. But if not, I think they stall out in the second round again.
That's interesting. I like Kitley. I agree with how you broke down Jackie Young, because I wasn't originally thinking about Jackie Young, but I'm remembering the injury, and no, she did not play very much at Unrivaled. I was thinking also Aaliyah. However, this could also be a little controversial because, again, impact player, we weren't necessarily looking for a perennial all-star or someone like that. But given how things went for this player last season, including at the Olympics, and definitely in the offseason, I think we know where I'm going with this. I think we know where I'm going with this. Jewel Lloyd. What version of Jewel Lloyd are we going to get with the Aces? Because, I don't know. Jewel was not feeling it last year.
Yeah.
And, her family wasn't feeling some of her coaches, plural, just for the record. So I think Jewel having a reset. Unrivaled seemed to be that reset. We have a story up at blackrosymedia.com you can check out. Unrivaled seemed to be that reset. She's getting into her pickleball family. She's serious about her pickleball, spending time with her dogs. So this has been a reset. And what will that look like on the court? So we both agree, contenders. All right. We also agree that Sharif and the Minnesota
very own.
They're gonna be contenders. They're gonna be contenders. Listen, I said early on in the playoffs, the one team I didn't really want to see for the New York Liberty was them Lynx. I ain't want it. And that's exactly what we got. Because I was like, listen. You really tested my ability to compartmentalize if you give me a Lynx versus Liberty. But I did it. But that was stress. I was stressed. Because I've talked about on the podcast, listen, when Sab had that threw up in the garbage can game, I was the ET, she was the Elliot, okay? If y'all know that movie, because I just was having reactions. I thought I was going to throw up in that game. But no, jokes aside, the Minnesota Lynx, and I said this on another, I think maybe we were over at the Tempestagi talk, but the fact that the Lynx have been very quiet. The last thing we heard from Cheryl Reeve really was her basically cussing out everybody in
That's they won.
She cursed out. I mean, to a New Yorker, she cursed everyone and their whole 7 generations. She cursed everyone from New York out in her rant. And I was like, I'm gonna let you have that because boom, who's having the banner championship ring ceremony on opening night? That would be the New York Liberty. But no, jokes aside, I think the Lynx are going to be contenders. They are pretty much have their core back. And I like who you picked because if Alana Smith was even like a scotch healthier, Brian.
It would not have been fun for us.
Brian. I mean, I know this is a podcast for New York Liberty fans, but you know I'm gonna keep it real.
Our podcast would have to be called Purple Power instead.
Not purple. Purple. No, we're not gonna do that. I already have my karaoke. We're gonna end the session. But yeah, Minnesota. I like Alana Smith. I like Alana Smith for sure. I mean, she tested my loyalties as well because I was like, yo, New York better come get this game. Y'all know if you were in Slack last year, there was what game was it? Game 5, game 4, game 5. Well, it was either game 3 or it must have been game 5 where I was like just like close this, shut the door, finish this. I just kept typing it. Finish this. Because listen, Alana Smith on one good leg, she's making me nervous.
One good leg, half a back that's working, but still out there playing, balling the hell out, man.
I'm telling you, she was trying to do an Elena Deladon. Got the 3 herniated discs and bringing home a championship. Yeah, no, I like this pick. I like Alana Smith. I truly like it was really unfortunate that she wasn't healthy for that series, and she really gave it all that she had. Okay, other teams we agree with for contenders. Here you go, Damien. Here, this one's for you. Come on. Are they making the play? Come on, boy. They're making the playoffs. If this Liberty team don't make the playoffs, I'm gonna be like, who gave Dolan the team back? Who gave him ownership? He's banished. That man cannot come back. Now the Liberty they're making the playoffs. I think they are a contender for sure. I would be shocked at this moment. I would be shocked if they are not one of the 4 semifinal teams.
Yeah.
I really like this roster, and they are comfortable in their they're comfortable in the agility that their team collectively has, and then the players that we need to be impact players, again, those like 5 to 8 players that we're going to actually see on the court, they are ready. That wasn't the case when we played the Aces in the finals. They had to figure it out on the fly, if we're keeping it a buck, last year, but now they're ready to the point where, what were we hearing from Stewie, right? It's about turning the page.
Yep. It's
about now being consistently great. She talks about that lots of the core is back, and now it's about they built the foundation. Now they have to build the house. So we're here. Now we disagree when it comes to who that 4th contender can be. I am saying right now, and I don't disagree with you, but for this activity, I did not put the Indiana Fever as contenders. I have them as making the playoffs.
Yeah, for the Fever, it ties into Las Vegas in the sense that I think that initially, I feel like a month ago, I would have said, hey, the Fever are like my lock for the 4 seed, but I think if things go well, they might jump to 3. And because I think that with the Fever, I expect a lot from them. Like they've pumped up the roster, year 2 of their big 3 together. Like they should be new coaching as well. Like everyone hated Christie. They're like, oh, Christie sucks. Get her out of here. They did. You got a coach of the year in there. So I'm expecting huge things from them. Yeah. And I think, despite her antics, Sophie Cunningham is still a very good player in the league. And I think
okay, fine.
I think for Sophie, it's a situation where she's probably going to get the easiest amount of shots that she's gotten in her career, because Boston and Mitchell draw so much attention from opposing defenses. So your job is just catch and shoot threes. You can drive a little bit, and we need you to play physical defense and be an irritant, which I don't think I need to tell her to be an irritant. I feel like that's just like the je ne sais quoi of Sophie Cunningham in a sense. So I think for her, it's a situation where this is you're gonna get heavy minutes. You're gonna be on the court with one all-star at all times. Like, you're never gonna be a situation where it's just like 5 reserves or a lineup that's not really able to score in that way with a plus scorer. So every time you're on the court, you're gonna get those good shooting opportunities. And I think Sophie can size up a little bit to the 4 on occasion. She can guard 2 and 3. That versatility is going to be critical for Indiana, and especially as they sort of like tinker with lineups when they use like Tosh Howard at center, how they sort of like navigate things like that. It'll be a lot of good combinations that they can sort of like test and try out. So I think Sophie's going to be key to that, because if she doesn't, it limits their sort of like responsibility a little bit. They'd have to put more on newly acquired DeWanna Bonner. Like, DeWanna's gonna have to do a little bit more.
That's insane to me.
Yeah, I've been so used to her being in Connecticut this whole time. I'm like, wait a minute, those colors kind of.
I'm so weak. Amir, I'm gonna get to that, but first, Brian, I'm gonna have you answer this question for Moni. Like, I think this is interesting. Yeah.
I would say the 21 Mercury, like from what I remember of that team, they really sort of like it took a while for them to sort of like get going in. And I think she was injured by the time they got to the playoffs as it was. If I remember correctly, I think she was out.
Yeah. And who else was out that year because Sophie Cunningham was like playing 1 through 4 or something?
Yeah. I think they had didn't Shea Petty get hurt that year too? Was that
Shea?
Yeah.
And that was the Kia Nurse here. Child, so it seems like forever ago.
Yeah, it's really, we'll get to this another day, but like the Mercury making the finals in 21 with that injury depleted team really is a testament to how amazing.
I believe miracles.
Like I feel like Phoenix, whenever the time comes, like they need to build a statue of BG outside of that arena, because like the way she dragged that team to the finals against really, it wasn't MVP Asia, but like MVP like knocking on the door Asia, like to do that, so incredible. So I think for Phoenix, for Indiana,
I can't. Like, there was a lot going on. Okay, we're gonna move on because y'all got me tight. Not y'all, but like the history of it all got me tight.
Jim Pittman, count your days, bucko.
Listen, I want to talk about this right here. I'm freaking weak. To quote the great Kelsey Plum, the Fever are a collection of good players, but they don't play for each other. They are not a team. They don't love each other. I'm weak. You can tell they don't love each other. Oh, K Plum got me so tight with that. But speaking of Kelsey Plum, we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to the Sparks. I have them as making the playoffs. You have them as wait till next year. I like Azare Stevens. I will see you, Azare, and raise you, Ray Burrell, based on what I saw on Unrivaled.
I was thinking Ray Burrell too. I was like, yo, should I put?
I know.
Ray? I was like, huh.
Azare is solid too. Like, I think, you know what? We're gonna say both. We're gonna say both.
Yeah. I think I wound up leaning towards Azare as my first place option because Cam Brink isn't expected back until sometime in June. Yeah. So I think Azare will have those minutes at starting center with De'Erica Hamby, with Rakia, year 2 Rakia.
Oh,
yeah.
Rakia's going to prove us both wrong.
Yeah.
That might be the real answer.
Yeah, and I was thinking Rakia, so I was like, let me go like throw a little Rakia.
Okay, but see, here you go. See, we're talking about all these players, but you have them as wait till next year.
Yeah, I think the Sparks are a year away. I feel like I remember in the newsletter I wrote about when Magic Johnson was like, "Hey, man, what we're doing as org is like not good. Like this is
weird.
like, hey, I can't do this no more. Like we need to like compete." And I think that matters a lot. And I think for the Sparks, I think if Cam were back in April, I'd probably be leaning more towards them being a playoff team. But I think I feel like they're going to be competitive and they're going to be good, but I think they're going to just be a little bit short. And I would say year 2 with this group together, I expect big things from them.
I could see that. I think they make, again, 8 make the playoffs. And I will be honest, in years past, it's been painful to see the teams under 8. I don't know if that's going to be the case this year. I think that I think it's going to be a little tighter at the top, or I should say, it's going to be elite company at the top.
Yeah.
And I think that because of all of the coaching changes, all of the personnel, meaning player changes and teams adapting, these are veterans adapting to new teams, and some of them linking up with other veterans, like trying to make, their kind of Avengers squad or whatever, the next quote unquote super team. What's hilarious is no one's talking about super teams this year, like, at all. The whole league is it's a super league. We're super. So I think that I could see it going either way. I do, though, believe in. I'm curious to see the Plum Dog kind of, in an elevated role.
Yeah.
She's really been fighting for that since, oversized suit Bill Lambier was coaching the Aces, and she flat out was like, I need the ball in my hands, And
Erica, I have a question.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, is this the first year that Plum is like the lead option on offense? Because
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, because she was drafted the year after Asia, right? Or was she the year before?
She was before. So it goes.
It's Plum. I think it's Plum.
It's Plum, Wilson, Young. They got 3 back-to-back number 1 draft picks. And Plum, remember, she got drafted to San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
And then she, like we saw with Sab, she got injured. She got a bad ankle sprain that really threw off her rookie year, in case y'all forgot. And that was the year that just completely blanked on her name. Coached in Dallas, played for the New York Liberty.
Kate, not Katie Smith. Not
Katie Smith. She's in Ohio. She's at Ohio now. Wow. Oh my gosh. I see her face. She got an auntie cut. Why can I not? This is crazy that her name has just escaped my mind. It's not coming at all.
Let me see if I can hustle the name out quick fast. Hold on.
We know this. Come on, family. This is a podcast for New York Liberty fans. Vicki Johnson. Thank you.
Oh, Vicki
Johnson. I got it. I was like, I know this woman's name. I don't know why that took so long. I'm very for shame. Blame my head and not my heart. Vicki Johnson. That was the coach. Yes, Vicki Johnson. That was the Vicki Johnson year. Anyway, and I think Plum has always had a good relationship with Vicki. Yes, Vicki. Okay, moving on. Also, Amir has his own categories that are hilarious. I think these are hilarious. Tiff has contenders, Liberty, Lynx, Aces, ATL. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Because you have ATL making the playoffs. I have them as still wait till next year. I still think there's a little bit of a hot mess there. And I got to be honest. Oh, not Coquise Washington, although I like that. Good callbacks to OGs. I love this. ATL, Brittany Griner is a player that I just never understand, this is pre-Russia, just to be clear. I never could quite understand why Brittany Griner just doesn't take games over more.
Mhm.
And so there's always a little bit of a question mark with BG for me. Because it's there, and are you going to get it? I don't know. Bree Jones and BG, though, that's problems. Like,
Yeah.
have the ice bath ready. Ain't nobody surviving in the paint.
Atlanta, the way Atlanta put it together is so interesting because their new coach is like one of those 3-point heavy guys, and he has two sort of like traditional pound you into dust bigs in the middle, which I think is a good change up from what is a basketball world. I would say just men and women. That's really into pace and space. So having bigs that get that are at the rim a lot and can still like really draw those fouls, really punish you inside that way, I think is super valuable. So it's gonna be an interesting sort of dynamic with them. For the impact player, I went with Jordan because I think, for all of Atlanta's struggles last year, when Jordan was out at the beginning of the year, their offense looked dead in the water. Like there was like one game in particular against the Liberty where they looked completely non-competitive, and I'm watching and I'm like this is like it's like, guys, like there's more talent here. Like let's get it going. And then down the stretch, when they made their push to the playoffs, Jordan was huge in getting them there, and having that guard who can get downhill, really navigate defenses that way is critical. And I think for Atlanta this year, especially with the double big lineup, and teams are going to try to sort of like draw BG out into the perimeter. They're going to try to draw Bree out. They're like, I think for a player like Jordan, her perimeter defense is going to be absolutely essential for the Dream. And I think for her, and also we talk a lot about those true point guards who have to make sure that they get their players the ball. Like there's a lot of like top line talent that needs to be fed and deserves to be fed. BG, Ryan Howard, we haven't mentioned yet. Alicia Gray balled out and unrivaled. Like we see what she can do.
So good.
Yeah. So
and there's money on the line at All-Star again, so she coming ready.
Hey, like a good $250,000 for like 20 minutes of work. Sign me up too. Let's get it.
So don't you think that maybe Atlanta or Indiana is being in contender mode? So yes, but not both of us. So I don't think Atlanta is going to be a contender this year. Brian does. I do think that the Fever are going to make the playoffs, but I don't have them as being a contender. For Atlanta, I think that a player really there's a lot of players actually that I'm really curious. Bree Jones is definitely one of them for me, but I'm also, because I like the pick, I like Jordan Canada, but also I wonder if Pow Pow is going to be able to get some play early on.
Like I was looking at like her Hoop Stats has the training camp rosters across the board for each team, and I there was a part of me that wanted to go with Haley as the impact player.
I thought about that too. I just think she needs to have if she's gonna do the thing, she got to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel like for Haley, it like you were saying, it's like one of
Haley
those.
Jones, by the way, that's who you're talking about.
Yeah, it's one of those like, if you're gonna do it, like you need to do it right now, like now. Yeah. So I wonder if the change from Tanisha Wright into Carl Smesko and his sort of like spaced out attack will sort of like unlock something for her. I know I think Haley played some 3 last year with Tanisha and them. So I wonder if they sort of like tap into her, use her almost like a Swiss Army knife in some respects to really get the absolute most out of her. Because the thing with Haley for me is that sometimes like when the Juma played Liberty, like she'd have those open shots because the Liberty are like, okay, you out there, you got it, like you would up. And she wouldn't take those shots. And I feel in this offense, you're gonna need to take those shots. You're gonna have to take those shots because their thing is, if you're open and it's in rhythm, get that thing up there. And I
Yeah.
think for Haley, like that, I wonder if this is going to be the thing where it's like it unlocks that level of her game that may not have been there in her early WNBA journey. So I'm really curious to see how she takes this new role in this new team this year.
Yeah, I can see that. Oh man, my allergies are kicking my butt right now. Okay, let's go with another categorization that we agree with. Washington Mystics, wait till next year. You have Steph Dolson. I could see that. Honestly, all of the new players, like the rookie squad here is insane. And like it's not because we were like next year or maybe the next few years. It's 1 year for Washington. Because if they get even like 2 of these, I'm trying. Oh my how did the W let them do this? They got Lucy. This is crazy to me. Lucy Olson, Georgia Amore, Sonia Citron, Kiki Iriafen, alongside Jade Melbourne, Brittany Sykes, Dolson, as you mentioned, Emily Engler. I'll put them in the Haley Jones category. I'll just put it that way. But then a healthy Shakira Austin and Aaliyah Edwards is my choice for like my real choice for breakout.
Yeah.
In impact is Aaliyah Edwards. And that might be cheating a little bit the way they played. Maybe not. But like, I think everyone was waiting for Shakira Austin to really break out. Rightfully so. Unfortunately, injuries, right? But Aaliyah Edwards, and then my birthday twin Megan Hall reporting that the thing that Aaliyah Edwards got most from Unrivaled was confidence because OGs in the league were propping her up. We saw what she did in the one-on-one tournament. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Man, if this team stays healthy and these rookies get a taste of the W and get acclimated quick,
hey, you never know.
not to make it all about the Mystics, but we got to get Misha on to see what she thinks about that. Okay, let's see who else do we got to talk about. We have to talk about okay.
You don't see it for them.
I maybe it's that I don't want it. If I'm being honest, I'm like, I'm gonna give them until you do right by Spoon. Until you do right. I just watched The Color Purple the other day, so it's fresh on my mind. Until you do right. No, I don't. I just think that there's still a little bit of a mess. I think there's still a little bit of a mess.
Yeah, I think
again they have a fresh head coach.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There are so many rookie head coaches this year. Like that, I feel like that's going to be another sort of like subplot of the season. Watching these young coaches and first timers at that really get acclimated to the league. So I'm interested to see. For the Sky, I wound up going with Beck because I think for Chicago, we know the bigs are set with the tag team of Reese and Cardoso. They're going to own the boards. They're going to do what they do. I'm expecting that. Sloot guiding the offense is going to be what it is. Like we know what Sloot is, even at a diminished level. Atkins, I keep forgetting she's there too. Like she's going to be the lead. Yeah,
that's my pick.
Yeah, she's going to be the person presumably that Tyler Marsh runs the offense through as far as like on the perimeter. And I think for Beck, it's going to be, I think this is like, we really haven't gotten a healthy Beck season since 2023. And it's so unfortunate. Like Beck is so good and she does everything so well. And I think for Beck Allen, her all around game is going to be essential for the Sky to get back into the playoffs. Like she's going to take those number one options on defense against perimeter players. Like when the Sky face the Liberty, she'll get the Sabrina matchup. Like when they play the Aces, she'll toggle between Young, Lloyd, and Chelsea Gray. She'll get all of those matchups. And I think that's going to be absolutely essential. And I think also, we talked about the two bigs in recent Cardoso. They're not like knockdown shooters. Like they don't sort of like space the floor like a Jonquel Jones can. So it's going to be a little bit congested on the inside. And I think within that, that you're going to need more than ever to have your 3-point shooting on target. And I feel like for Beth Allen, like that's going to be where she's going to have to really sort of like be a sharpshooter in that regard. Because if she's not, then the scoring context for the Sky becomes even harder because teams are going to let Sloot shoot those 3-pointers. Like if it's Sloot driving to the rim or Sloot shooting a 25-footer, I'll take my chances from deep. Like I'll let her have it. Yeah, and teams. Teams really sort of like mess up with the bigs on the inside. So I feel like for Beck, she's always been someone that's highly motivated, and I think this year she's gonna really try to sort of like really push herself to a new horizon.
I like this pick. I'm always rooting for Rebecca Allen. I remember cutting my teeth as a beat writer for the New York Liberty and being like, I don't even know what to say. And Tina Charles not really trying to talk to nobody. So let me make friends with this kind soul right here in Rebecca Allen. I mean, jokes aside, I think that not quite with the same level of urgency for me as Haley Jones, but I just want her to have a year where, she's reminding, like almost like what she had in Connecticut, like I want that for her. So speaking of Connecticut, and man, Amir with these half-court heave. Half-court heave is hilarious to me. But we both have Connecticut as wait till next year. We don't even know if Marina Mabry is going to show up. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I feel like, for the Sun, like another part of just sort of like taking it briefly back to the Liberty, another part of Tosh Cloud's presser yesterday was that she really talked about how Jen Rosati and Morgan Tuck really sort of looked out for her as a player when the first trade from Phoenix happened and they were able to get her to New York. And she talked about the difficult context they're working in as far as like being president and GM of a completely rebuilt team. Like we wrote about it on Black Rosie Media, but they lost everybody. Like everybody except for Marina, who tried to leave too, but hey.
Yeah. They were like,
Everybody else is gone, and it's a situation.
They said last in, last out.
And Jen was like, "Oh, hey, Marina's asked to leave before. No, we're not gonna do that. We want to see what she can do here." And I'm like,
I know. I was like, ooh, and then trade Tosh. I was like, ooh, oh well. Yeah, I think it's a wait till next year. I'm curious to see what their new head coach is going to be able to do. Coached Emma Mieseman in the Olympics, and that Belgium team was scrappy. Oh man, woo, they were scrappy. So I do think it's a wait till next year, considering the fields and like half court heave. But Connecticut is gonna, I think, continue to play that brand of Connecticut basketball that we know. Keep it low scoring, keep it physical. I think that's what they're going to want to play. I'm not as familiar, quite honestly, with their personnel to see if they can actually do that.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got no engine. You've got no DeWanna Bonner, no Bree Jones, but they do have Tina Charles. Tina, like this child, man, listen. I'm just trying to I don't understand. Why Connecticut seemed like the right fit for her, given things that she said in the past. Pre-Atlanta, this was someone, right, looking for a championship. I don't know that that's the goal anymore. I mean, I don't know how it can be, right? Yeah. This Connecticut team, given again the rest of the field. So I'm very curious to see how that's going to work out. They might. But again, I was trying to find it earlier if I can get the Slack invite, but we talked about it in our Black Rosie Media Slack channel. Emma Mieseman is very clear on where she stands with prioritization, and she's not really trying to go half on anything. I think Gabby Williams, it seems like she conceded maybe a little bit to be with Seattle and to agree to be cored with Seattle. And I think maybe that's why she got a little uptight about being asked about prioritization again. She's just gonna have to get used to it. I don't know why she got mad at Hobart of all people. But we've all been there. Tina tried to come at me. That man, someone brought that up at the draft while we were doing the walkthrough. I was like, y'all leave me alone. And Charles talking about, I'm from New York. I was like, I'm from New York too. Like, I don't know. I don't know where where I'm from because that I be showing up. So I don't. Oh, okay. Anyway, we move on. The Sealy hands at Chicago. Okay, but like apropos, okay, no, like that's what they get. I mean, I feel bad for their new coach, but I ain't make the rules. How you gonna do that? That was dirty. They did them dirty. So I don't like how they did Teaspoon. So anyway, but yeah, I think okay. Fan me wants to say it's possible. Reporter me is like, Emma Mieseman said what she said with her whole chest. And until Kathy does right by her, she ain't coming. She's like, I'm good. So I would love to see it. She would be back with her national team coach. So that would be dope. But is it a surefire thing? Absolutely not. Could it happen? Maybe. Yeah. But is it likely this season? No. Yeah. I think let's get to the other side of the CBA negotiations, and then we can have this conversation potentially next year. I think that's more. I don't know about you. It looks like you agree, Brian. Like, this is probably not a this year thing.
Yeah, I feel like for a player like Emma, since she, like the second she comes back in, pretty much every team is going to be like, hey, can you come join us? Like, she really has an opportunity to sort of like control where she goes. And, another thing also, when the new CBA kicks in, I think about 90% of the league is going to be an unrestricted free agent. So you can get in where you fit in. And with all that money coming in and the cap presumably jumping up to a higher amount, you can really be like, okay, if you're interested, what's in it for me? Am I getting the financial part right? Okay, that's check one. Am I going to be able to start this year? Am I going to be at worst the first player off the bench? What's the team context that I'm coming in? Because last time, I was on a team that was a contender in the Twins side. I was a Finals MVP. Like you know what I can do. So and y'all watch the Olympics too.
Because Mieseman was balling.
Yep.
Balling. Still got it. I want her to come back so bad though. Come on, Kathy. Get her a private jet. Give her an ambassador role that we just pluck out of the sky.
I know Kathy got the money too. So
come on now.
She can't trick me.
She gonna do it just because she could. Okay, going back to Connecticut real quick. Anissa Morrow. I felt good about Morrow going to Connecticut in the draft. I think a lot of people were shocked that Golden State didn't scoop her up. I mean, I don't know. But Morrow, I'm curious to see. It's not going to be a contending team. We agree on that. And, could it be like a Rickea Jackson situation? Could it be an Aaliyah Edwards situation where you got a great player on a bad team? Cam Brink before she got hurt. You know what I'm saying? So that's all I have to say about that. Golden State, we both agree. Wait till next year. Kayla Thornton, great choice here. I mean, I really and I feel like this is a little bit of a cheat because the way that I thought about it is this team needs Kayla Thornton. This roster needs Kayla Thornton.
Yeah.
And I love that for her because I think we can see a different role for her, and that's going to be awesome. I think that her being able to open up her game, I really like that. I think a lot of people are intrigued to see what, of course, Kate Martin can do. Steph Talbot is also interesting. I think Temi Feng Benlay,
Yeah, that's another good.
Tiff Hayes. I mean, I just can keep going, right? CC, Minnesota losing CC, that's a tough one. Van Loo, I like also, but I think I'm gonna stick with. I think you need Thornton, and I'm gonna give a little mix of. I want to say Talbot, but I'm going to say Hayes because you know how I feel about guard play. Backcourt is critical, and that's not Thornton's position. I do think that she's going to set the tone for physicality on this team, and we saw, you know, what Tiff Hayes can do. So I think you know, I think that's going to be an interesting team, but they're not making the playoffs. Okay. That leaves, I think we got to everyone except for the team of the hours, plural. Oh, we didn't talk about Dallas. We forgot about Dallas. Whoops, sorry, Paige. I have them making the playoffs. I have them making the playoffs because here's the thing. Dallas is like the new Phoenix in that they're almost always right there, and then they kind of fumble the bag late, and it's pain, you know, it's pain. When you don't have to have Enrique run the offense, my hypothesis is that changes because Enrique, we talked about this before. Enrique has a little bit of that Tina Charles in her, right? She's gonna be a team player to an extent. And if the team that she's rolling with can't get with the program, then she's gonna take over the game because she can do that.
Yeah.
But I don't think she's gonna have to do that anymore with Paige.
Yeah, I see it. Like, she really hasn't had that plus perimeter, that secondary perimeter player with her in a while. Like, Mabry was the closest back in 22, but she hasn't had that for the past couple years. So it'll be really interesting to see what she does. And I think especially this is year 7, I want to say, for Enrique, 6, 7, something like that. So she's been in the league plenty, and she's been able to really establish herself in that way. So having that guard help with Beckers at the point will make things a lot easier for her, and having an excellent defender in Carrington in the wing position will really sort of like help get those transition opportunities, because Deschanel is one of the best players as far as like getting deflections, forcing steals, things like that. So it's an interesting context for Dallas. Similar to the Sparks, I'm like, maybe you're a year away, because I still have questions about like McCowan at center. I feel like I'm not really a big T fan. So I'm like, there are some questions I have. Also, first year head coach as well too.
Yeah,
I'm like, and it feels like this is the first. It feels like the first year, like you try to build a house, where it's like, I see the vision you're trying to get, but it's going to take a little bit of time to get there ultimately.
Yeah, I think now that I'm taking another look at the roster, I'm inclined to agree with you. So I think you're probably right. What I will say is that I think McCowan is in that Haley Jones category, right? You got to get something right this year. You have to see what you've got. And there's space now in the roster because Dallas has been a big roster, right, for a while now.
Yeah.
Now all them pieces worked out, you know, and that goes back to, I don't know, they got to figure out the front office. But Kurt Miller's there now, so we'll see. But McCowan should have, right, should get the minutes. So now what do you do with those minutes, I suppose? But I think I might agree with you. Maybe they are a wait till next year. All right, New York Liberty. Yes, Damien, they will be contenders. I don't know why you said we was tripping earlier. You was tripping, homie. Are they gonna make the playoffs? They're making the dang playoffs. Come on. Come on. With all these other teams and all the upheaval, the New York Liberty, they got back key players.
Yeah,
That
they rock
didn't
solid.
play with them last year. And they got an upgrade at point guard. I mean, they did. They're a contender. They're a contender. If they don't make the semis, something went wrong. I'm putting it. I am pretty conservative with my predictions. Something goes wrong, Brian, if this New York Liberty squad is not a top 4 team in the regular season, but especially come playoffs. If they don't make the semis, somebody got something went wrong.
Yeah, that's one of those where it's like you sort of like write a book as to what went wrong with the team this year.
Exactly. I don't want to have to do that. So let's just go ahead and take care of business. I know you've been on this tip since the beginning of last year about how this is a team that is very cognizant of the impact and the importance of getting home court advantage. And I'm just going to be honest, if they didn't get that last year, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Nope.
And it's not like they always used it to their advantage because we saw them once again in the finals drop that first game.
Yep.
That was, man, I was looking at one of my reels, and I had a clip where I was talking about that with Chris Williamson on CBS Sports, and I was like, oh man, that was wild. That was a wild game one. That was a wild game one. But they survived. And again, I go back to, you got to check out what Brian posted for the local W. He's going to have more video. We definitely have already talked about, I think he's taken some pointers on some audio technology that we're going to hopefully get, because I don't know, the audio, and also Stewie has a softer voice than I think people realize.
Yeah.
Like it's super hard to hear her in that one. Yeah. But we got some things. We got some things in the works. Brian's getting it together. Yeah. But I loved what she said. It's about turning the page. Like she said, we're proud of what we did. We celebrated. She emphasized they celebrated the championship, but now it's time to turn the page and be, quote, consistently great. And the I don't know what absolutely not to what, being consistently great. I don't know. Let us know in the comments. But I don't know why you so mad. Consistently great. The pressure is a privilege. I think that came from Tosh Cloud, right?
Yep.
That's what she said. That's the thumbnail for this episode. Pressure is a privilege. And when you have those two helping to lay the foundational mentality for this team, and we know Sabrina Ionescu is low-key, respectfully, a psycho. Like that look she gave after that, I was like, oh my gosh, I think she pierced my soul. I don't know. I gotta, make sure I get the floaty the water after she gave that look. But these are players that are intense, and they've had to work really hard to get that championship. This franchise has been through a lot to get that championship, and I do not think that they take that for granted. Yeah. And I think that they're reminding each other of that in healthy ways early on in the process. And I love that. I gave a lot of opinions, Damien. So I don't know exactly which one we're talking about. That they're going to be a contender? I don't know. We'll see, Damien. We'll see. But you know what? Each of us has to play our role. And, Damien, you do you really well. And it worked out last year. So we're going to keep that same energy. Keep coming in the comments. And I love it. I love it. We're going to end though with which is the one from Emir that I saw. Oh, Emir, it also has a very specific energy. It's always the same. It's always the same. He says Liberty 41-0. Now, I don't think that's quite where we're going to be, Brian, but let's have it right now. We both said this team is a contender. I said that the baseline for that is making the semis. So Brian, let's go before we close out and let people get some sleep tonight. Does this New York Liberty squad make it to the finals?
Right now, yes. I think they have enough to get through the first 2 rounds, and then when they get to the finals, we'll reset and go from there. But I think with this group, as it's currently constituted, I think they have enough to get back to the finals at least.
I agree. And I do think that one way or another, they, similarly to how they had to get through Vegas last year, they got to go through Minnesota. They're going through Minnesota.
Yep.
One way or another.
Minnesota's waiting for them. Like, however this ends, the Liberty will see the Lynx in the playoffs again.
Oh, 100%. Again, unless something goes wrong, that I just don't know how you look at the league right now, an expansion team, so many new head coaches, so many, as we said, players moving, and that's not the case. I do think that Indiana is going to be a compelling team to watch. I just don't know that they're going to be able to get over the hump. But I mean, Stephanie White is another one that I don't make too many jokes about Stephanie White because I respect what she's bringing. I respect what she's bringing, period. I respect it. So yeah, that Indiana team, gotta keep eyes on for sure. All right, folks. Well, there you go. We gave you our bold predictions, not just for the New York Liberty, but for the whole field. And Brian, before we get out of here, let folks know where they can find you.
Sure. I am doing Liberty coverage at Local W and Nets Daily. I've got some training camp stories, one overall training camp story that's up and another from Tosh Cloud's presser yesterday. I'm going to try to have a little bit more this week if I can. I've got some exciting projects I can't tell you guys about yet, but that's coming soon. So it's a lot happening, and the newsletter is coming out pretty soon as well too. We've got you covered all over the place.
I love it. And I will be heading to New York. So I'll be in New York for Thursday's practice. So, we'll be reunited. You can, of course, find me not only on Gotta Get Up, a podcast for New York Liberty fans, but we recorded an episode of Tempestagi Talk. I mentioned it on Tempestagi Talk. That's our Seattle Storm podcast. But we're going to try to aim for specific days of the week because we're going to get back to our weekly schedule. So Gotta Get Up, our normal day is going to be on Monday. So every Monday, you should be able to tap in with us here at Gotta Get Up, a podcast for New York Liberty fans. We also have a holdover day. Now that can be whether it's travel or there's some breaking news, whatever. So the holdover day for us, Brian, is Thursday, right? That's our extra day. That's our spare day. That's our Harry day. Let me stop. The spare. No, so either if you don't catch us on Monday, you should be able to catch us on Thursday, but we will always let you know what the schedule will be. And if you forget, then make sure you join us on Slack. And if you don't do that, then subscribe to the newsletter because we'll let you know there as well. But for Brian Fleurantin, my name, Erica L. Ayala, this has been another episode of Gotta Get Up. But now it's time to, no Aloysius to Ellie wave us out. Oh my gosh. We got to do it on our own. But you know how we do. It's time to wave. We didn't talk about the elephant in the room, Brian. We got to do that on the next one. Peace out, everybody.